where we have to view everything through the lens of this black and white.
I got to tell you, yesterday a guy was asking me a question. He says, "Hey Pat, can you go on Twitter, please, my account?" And he says, "Can you tell me what you don't like about capitalism? Tell me what you don't like, because you're so much about capitalism. Can you say something you don't like about capitalism?"
Okay.
Right?
Fair.
So that's a fair question.
Yeah.
So I responded back to the guy and I tweeted, and I actually answered him. Here's what I said. Okay, my answer was keep going down, keep going down, keep going down, keep going down, down, down. There it is. Okay, click on that tweet because there's a part 2 and a part 3. Click on the top. No, not Tyler. We got to teach you what to click on. Right there. That's right there. Okay, good. All right. So I said, he asked me a question. I'm a big valuetainer from India, and I have a question. If there's just one thing you would change about capitalism, what would it be? I said, this is what I would change about capitalism. Number 1, eliminate all lobbyists and special interest group. This is how big companies like Pfizer bully small companies. Capitalism by itself is good until politicians who need campaign money to get reelected get desperate. They're often for sale, right? Number 2 is create a flat tax that puts everybody in the same camp, et cetera, et cetera. Stay on the first one right there. Stay right there. Okay?
Well, that's cronyism. That's not capitalism.
Well, you're right. It is cronyism, but what Pfizer is doing, what Pfizer is doing today, Pfizer is getting the FDA
Correct.
that they've probably
Sure.
bought to say, hey, can you go out there and make sure you delay the number of
Yeah.
lawsuits till 2076? Who the hell is going to give a crap about anything to do with COVID 55 years from now? Let me make my point. You'll go in 55 years from now.
We'll be in COVID 75.
So then yesterday, some people
We'll be on
said,
smallpox by then.
yesterday, some people also said, Bezos just gave $100 million to Obama's foundation. Okay. So on the back end, folks are saying, well, maybe those issues that, Bezos and Amazon was facing, Obama's going to make a phone call to Biden to get a favor.
Yeah.
It's things like this where you lose trust because manipulation takes place at the highest level. You're a dummy if you don't sit there and say, 2000. You know what? A guy just sent something right now. The answer was the following. Here's what the guy said. I want to give him credit because the answer was a great answer. He says, you want to wait till 2076 to release all the data? Guess what? I'm going to wait till 2076 to take the vaccine. Smart. That's what I'm going to do.
Sure.
By the way, is
Yeah.
it reasonable? Is
Fair.
it reasonable? I think it's reasonable.
Fair.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable because I want to get more data before I take it.
Right. If you're a data person, this gives more red flags for somebody not to take, to support their cause, not to take the vaccine. And back to this, we're looking at the FDA. Is the FDA here to protect the consumer or here to protect the government? And based on what we're seeing here, that's a government entity, that's a government entity that's going to not protect us.
I agree with the overall premise, all right? But and this might be semantics, and this might be a nonsensical word argument, but what is described there, and that happens all the time, cronyism, that's actually not capitalism. What that is corporatism. That's where the government picks winners in certain, functions, right? Where you give Pfizer a $1 billion grant. Now a small company can't come up and compete with them.
But here's the thing.
To me, that's closer to socialism than it is to
There's
capitalism.
no question. Of course it is. But it is an extension of capitalism because the capitalists are using this that's available to them, this usage. They're using this.
Do you think cronyism and corporatism is an inevitable end of capitalism?
If the laws are the way they are right now, yes. For example, as much as I love this phone, if you go a little lower, I said number 3, more competition for business that haven't had for many years. Apple needs more competition. It concerns me that there's not really a second competitor in smartphones in the U.S. right now. Tesla was the best thing that happened to U.S. consumers. They woke up the automobile industry to improve. Bottling needs competition. Coke and Pepsi own 90% of the market. I'll leave it there. The point is, look at this. This is a concern. Apple. Apple. Is this Apple? I don't know if is this iPad or no?
Yes,
Apple.
yes,
Apple. Apple. This is
Monopoly.
not good. This is not so.
Monopoly.
That is a form of what makes capitalism, end up going in this direction. So I don't think these guys should be taking money from these guys because why would an FDA say yes? Go behind closed doors and how much money. Matter of fact, can you put in Pfizer supporting FDA? How much money is Pfizer given to what charity or what nonprofit?
Sure.
You'll see a linkage there. So this is where I get very uncomfortable because the truth is not coming out. The person that's funding the most money is coming out in the back end.
Has the pendulum swung too far in that direction?
This is not a new thing. This has been going on for quite some time. Look, again, I'm at Harvard. I'm at an OPM program, Owner President Management. This is a 3-week program where you go and stay there with other CEOs and entrepreneurs. One guy says, I own majority of the market in Brazil. What the hell do I do? There's this new guy that's coming out that's kicking my ass. The other guy from another Central American country comes out and says, very easy. What governor is running for a campaign for re-election? Give him $500,000 and tell him you'll give him another $500,000 if he makes it impossible for the other guy to compete with you. Believe me, this is what we do all the time.
Ouch.
This isn't the open discussion as if it's like a regular talk.
This is what country?
And this was Brazil. I don't remember the other guy where he was at. But the guy that's working at the front, the teacher who was like the moderator, is like, well, you can't really do something like. The guy's like, no, you can't. That's it's like, you can do this.
It reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield in that old Back to School, where he goes back to school and he's sitting there and they're learning business and he keeps scoffing. They're like, you think you know something about business? He goes, yeah. You didn't even throw in any bribes for the Teamsters. They're going to shut the union down the first day unless you grease the pipes. And he does this whole thing. It's a great scene. But when you talk about when people
Triple Lindy, one of the classic movies of all time.
Absolutely.
Rodney Dangerfield.
When people talk about the quote-unquote Illuminati and this like crazy cabals and stuff like that, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the Bilderbergs and the World Economic Forum, where all these incredibly powerful people in all these incredibly powerful, influential positions get together and they make these backroom deals like that. We don't have access to that. We don't have access to that sort of power.
By the way, I don't mind it if it happens in free market. I mind it if you lean on the government. For example, this lady that they're talking about making the treasury for Biden, right? What's her name, Tyler?
Omarava.
Say that again?
Omarava.
I have a hard time saying her name. Omarava, right? So a video circulates among what she just recently said. So she's at the court. Ted Cruz is calling her out. Have you guys seen this back and forth or not? Have you seen Ted Cruz and her going back and forth or no? Have you seen it? Have you had a chance to see this or not? Okay. If it's C-SPAN, it's worthy of seeing this. If it's C-SPAN, it's worthy of seeing this. Take a look at it, see if it's out there or not. So this lady flat out says, you said Omarava? How do you spell it?
SAULE
SAULE
OMAROVA.
SAULE.
I got sucked into this video because it says Biden.
Can you give me the name again?
Biden appointee wants to eliminate the Fed. I said, no way. Let me hear this. Okay, good for you, Joe. And it was like, yeah, eliminate the Fed and all private banking.
Omarova.
It's like Omarosa. But
Have you guys actually seen this or not on C-SPAN? Okay. Omarova. Oh man, if it's not on C-SPAN, we obviously cannot watch it because of what happens. Okay, I don't know if it's there or not. Anyways, he calls her out. She used to be, she's born and raised in Russia, full-on communist, okay? And she's coming in and she says, well, yeah, I used to be a communist. Says, you don't stay as a member. You kind of grow out of being a communist. That's her answer. She just kind of nonchalant talks about it. Play the video I just sent you, by the way, Tyler.
By the way, Obama said the same thing in his book.
He did. But watch this. Just let's not interrupt. Let her say what she says in an interview. Press play. Here's what she has to say.
This would be actually the full transition. In other words, there will be no more private bank deposit accounts, and all of the deposit accounts will be held directly at the Fed. And there are very interesting implications from that thought experiment. For example, with the much more direct and proactive tools of monetary policy, like helicopter money, which is, considered radical primarily because economists really do not know how to manage the issue of what will happen in the inflationary environment when the central bank needs to contract the supply of money. How is it politically feasible for the central bank to effectively take money away from people's accounts?
People's accounts. Play the last 10 seconds one more time, folks. I want you to listen to this one more time. This is who may end up getting elected. Well, listen, press play.
Yeah, stop everything you're doing.
Contract the supply of money. How is it politically feasible for the central bank to effectively take money away from people's accounts?
Ouch.
People's accounts. That's her words, by
naturally.
The way. What she's saying, right? Okay.
Rolled out.
So you asked the question. You said,
eyes.
you know how these guys get together, the powerful people behind closed doors, and they broker deals, all that stuff. I don't mind that as long as the government's not involved. I have zero problem with that because if I can do a better job persuading him to broker the deal with me versus him, I'm good.
Because it's force.
Because I can screw it up with him, well, he'll go with him. But if I'm dealing with the government, if I screw it up with him, there is no
choice.
No, so these guys, when they're thinking central bank, the audience sees this. Like if you said this to
because the government became a competitor.
The government became a competitor.
That's just communism with a lot of extra words. That's just communism.
Of course that is. So again, the concept goes back to go to DMV, ask for good service, see what they give you. What's the alternative? There's not another
842.
DMV. There is not another DMV. So if we no longer have B of A Chase, I used to bank with B of A. Guess what I did? I went to WAMU. WAMU was crushing it. I've been with WAMU and Chase for God knows how many years. Now, if WAMU doesn't take care, you got Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo doesn't. You got this, you got that. So we switched one of our business banks for the company because the new bank was better for us than the other bank. You know how much money they lost in deposits? $100 million of deposits they lost. But if I don't have that choice where I can only go to the central bank, you are screwed.
Yeah, but PBD, it's worse than that even, because think about what we just talked about. They're regulating a medicine. Now they have access to your funds.
Money.
And they say, unless you get what we want you, unless you put what we want in your body, we're not going to give you access to your money.
Yeah. Well, that's why Biden wanted to expand the IRS enforcement to make sure that anything that you bring in over $600 is monitored. So therefore, if you're not paying taxes on it, they can come after you. Say, hey, we saw that you had a bunch of deposits at $600, $700, $800. You never filed tax on it because you're a waiter, because you work on tips, because you're a cash money guy. You sell elotes in the corner, and you're running a cash business. You're depositing over $600-700 a day. Now you have to file taxes on it, and they're forcing that regulation.
But they were never going to raise taxes on the middle class.
No.
But on that, they realized
the $3 trillion plan was going to pay for
and
itself.
that was something that they were proposing, but they realized that it was a logistical nightmare, and the banks are like, dude, we're not trying to monitor every $600, and they raised, obviously $10,000 is the traditional number for these types of things, but it just goes to show that sometimes bad ideas can sort of percolate, and if there's not people being like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on here? You know, they could somehow get implemented. So someone like this, that clearly we're all like, what's this lady's deal? What's this taking money from people's account? What is this idea going on here? If there's not backlash, there's not people raising their hands, like literally verbally protesting, someone like this can come to power.
It's a great point. Like Ghislaine Maxwell trial is going on right now, and nobody even knows. Everybody knows everything that's happening with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, every second of everything, you know. And there was some good theater there. Those two prosecutors were all-time morons with, you know, what they tried. Is your account 4 doors more whores, sir? Yeah, I'm a teenager. What of it, bro? I'm a teenager with a social media account. Like, it was a remarkably bad job that they did. But Ghislaine Maxwell, if everybody knows who Ghislaine Maxwell is, she was the number 2 to Jeffrey Epstein.
The number 2.
The number 2. You know, she was the gopher, man, and we all remember what Jeffrey Epstein had his hands in, and all of those people that he was intertwined with. Is that on the news at all?
Zero.
Where's the coverage of that?
I've not even heard about that.
So
I've not even heard about it.
What type of social engineering is going on? What type of manipulation is going on that we don't know? That they're trying to centralize our money underneath them. They're trying to control our medicine. They're trying to control our information. Pat just read an article before where they slipped in propaganda in an article. You know, which is safe and available, guys. Like, okay, thanks, buddy. At what point are we like gonna, as people stand up and like be like, all right, enough's enough?
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.